Marilyn Monroe, one of Hollywood's most iconic stars, revealed a much darker, more vulnerable side through her private writings. After her death, her personal diaries and letters were compiled in fragments, poems, intimate notes, letters, offering an intimate look into her inner world. Far from the glamorous image she projected on screen, Monroe's entries exposed deep emotional struggles, including chronic feelings of abandonment, insecurity, and depression. Her writings reflected a woman plagued by self-doubt, haunted by a traumatic childhood, and desperately searching for love and stability. Monroe's diaries also shed light on her complicated relationships with powerful men like Joe DiMaggio and Arthur Miller. Though publicly admired as a sex symbol, she yearned for emotional connection and intellectual respect. Her dependence on psychoanalysis and psychiatric care pointed to a woman overwhelmed by fame and internal conflict. These revelations challenged the public's perception of Monroe and highlighted the tragic divide between the public persona and the real person behind the camera. Her diaries remain a powerful reminder of the unseen battles faced by even the most celebrated figures. Mary Astor, a celebrated actress of Hollywood's golden age, became the center of a sensational scandal in the 1930s when her personal diary surfaced during a bitter custody battle for her daughter. The diary, dubbed the Purple Diary by the press, contained explicit accounts of her extramarital affair with acclaimed playwright George S. Kaufman. The revelation sent shockwaves through Hollywood, as the content clashed with the era's strict moral standards and the idealized image of female stars. Astor's private writings, introduced as evidence by her ex-husband in court, were meant to paint her as an unfit mother. Although the diary's authenticity was hotly debated, some entries were believed to be altered or forged. The scandal threatened to end her career. Remarkably, public sympathy largely swung in her favor, and the ordeal didn't stop her from continuing to work in film. The incident remains a striking example of how private lives, especially of women in Hollywood, were subject to intense scrutiny. Astor's story highlights the risks stars faced in protecting both their careers and personal dignity in an unforgiving industry. Jean Harlow, the original blonde bombshell of Hollywood's golden age, lived a life filled with fame, beauty, and deep tragedy. At just 21, she married MGM executive Paul Byrne, but the marriage ended abruptly when Byrne was found dead under mysterious circumstances just 2 months later. Though officially ruled a suicide, many believed it was a cover-up for a murder, possibly staged by MGM to protect Harlow's rising star and the studio's reputation. Harlow never publicly discussed the incident in detail, but private notes and accounts from close associates suggest she was devastated and possibly knew more than she could safely reveal. The studio worked quickly to control the narrative, shielding her from legal fallout and reshaping her public image to maintain her appeal. Her later relationships were also troubled, and despite her bubbly screen persona, Harlow struggled with isolation and health issues. She died tragically young at age 26 from kidney failure. Behind the glamour and stardom, her story reflects the dark undercurrents of early Hollywood, where image was everything, and truth often came second to studio interests. Clark Gable, known as the King of Hollywood, carefully cultivated a rugged, masculine image, but a long-held secret revealed after his death showed a more complex and guarded private life. During the filming of The Call of the Wild in 1935, Gable had an affair with actress Loretta Young, which resulted in the birth of a daughter, Judy Lewis. Due to the scandal such a revelation would have caused, particularly for Young, a devout Catholic, she left the public to believe she had adopted the child. For decades, Judy Lewis grew up unaware of her true parentage. Despite strong physical resemblance to Gable, he never publicly acknowledged her, and the truth was only confirmed long after both parents had passed away. Young reportedly admitted the secret to her daughter privately in adulthood, while Gable never made contact. This hidden chapter in Gable's life illustrates the immense pressure on Golden Age stars to maintain idealized public personas. Studios, fearing backlash and loss of profit, often orchestrated elaborate cover-ups to protect their stars' images. The story of Gable and Lewis is a striking example of personal sacrifice in service of Hollywood's carefully controlled illusion. Marlene Dietrich, one of the most enigmatic stars of Hollywood's golden age, lived a life that mirrored the allure and mystery of her screen persona. However, her private diaries, later revealed by her daughter Maria Riva, exposed a far more complex and often unsettling truth. Behind the glamour and charisma was a woman who, according to Riva, was emotionally distant, calculating, and manipulative, even with those closest to her. Dietrich's writings unveiled a web of romantic entanglements, including numerous affairs with both men and women. These relationships often overlapped, conducted in secrecy, and reflected her disregard for conventional norms. She was fiercely independent, maintaining her image with obsessive control and navigating Hollywood and European high society with skill and cunning. Yet, this came at a personal cost. She kept even her daughter at a distance and rarely showed genuine vulnerability. Her diaries challenged the myth of the untouchable screen goddess, offering a glimpse into a woman who lived by her own rules but left behind emotional wreckage. Dietrich's story highlights the divide between personal truth and the carefully crafted illusion of stardom. Lana Turner, one of Hollywood's most glamorous stars, led a life that became as dramatic off-screen as it was on. Known for her sultry performances in films like The Postman Always Rings Twice, Turner's personal life was filled with turmoil, scandal, and heartbreak. She was married 8 times, often to men who brought chaos and controversy into her life. One of the most notorious episodes involved her relationship with mobster Johnny Stompanato, a known enforcer for gangster Mickey Cohen. Their volatile relationship came to a shocking end in 1958 when Turner's teenage daughter, Cheryl Crane, fatally stabbed Stompanato during a violent argument at Turner's home. Cheryl claimed she was protecting her mother from physical abuse. The incident became a sensational national scandal, with tabloids feasting on the story. A coroner's jury ultimately ruled the death a justifiable homicide, but the event left a lasting mark on Turner's life and career. Though she continued to act, Turner was forever associated with the tragic episode. Her story is a stark reminder of how the pressures and darkness of fame can invade even the most glamorous of lives. Spencer Tracy, one of classic Hollywood's most respected actors, led a deeply private and often conflicted personal life. While celebrated for his powerful performances and naturalistic acting style, Tracy harbored secrets that were carefully shielded from the public. For over 2 decades, he maintained a close relationship with actress Katharine Hepburn, one of the most iconic pairings in Hollywood history. However, Tracy never divorced his wife, Louise Treadwell, and remained legally married until his death in 1967. Despite the deep emotional bond he shared with Hepburn, Tracy publicly referred to her only as a wonderful friend, and the two never lived together openly. Their relationship was an open secret in Hollywood. But Tracy's Catholic faith, combined with his loyalty to his estranged wife, prevented him from making their romance public. Tracy also struggled with alcoholism and bouts of depression, which deeply affected his personal and professional life. Hepburn later revealed that she never watched the film they made just before his death, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, because it was too painful. Tracy's life reflects the tension between personal truth and public image in the golden age of Hollywood. Greta Garbo, one of the most iconic and mysterious figures of Hollywood's golden age, was known for her reclusive nature and intense desire for privacy. While the public adored her for her performances in classics like Camille and Ninotchka, Garbo's personal life remained largely hidden from view. She famously retired from acting at just 35 and spent the rest of her life avoiding the spotlight, fueling decades of speculation about her private world. After her death, personal letters and diaries revealed a deep emotional bond with her childhood friend and fellow actress Mimi Polak. In letters spanning decades, Garbo expressed affection, longing, and emotional vulnerability, suggesting that their relationship may have been romantic. Despite receiving multiple marriage proposals throughout her life, Garbo never married and preferred to live alone, a decision that puzzled fans and biographers alike. These revelations have led many to believe that Garbo may have struggled with her sexual identity in an era that was unforgiving toward same-sex relationships. Her story is a poignant example of how fame, societal expectations, and personal truth can collide, leaving a legacy both brilliant and bittersweet. Bing Crosby, one of the most beloved entertainers of Hollywood's golden age, was admired worldwide for his smooth voice and charismatic presence. However, after his death, disturbing revelations about his private life emerged that complicated his public image. His son, Gary Crosby, spoke openly about the harsh and abusive environment he endured growing up. Gary described their home as a house of terror, where Bing's strict discipline often crossed into physical abuse. According to Gary, Crosby's parenting style was cold and severe, based on an old Italian proverb, "Never kiss a baby unless he's asleep." This harsh approach left deep emotional scars on his children, contrasting sharply with Bing's affable and warm public persona. While Crosby maintained a successful career as a singer and actor, his family life was marked by fear and pain. These revelations serve as a sobering reminder that even the most charming stars can harbor dark, hidden struggles behind the scenes, challenging the idealized images that audiences often hold. George Reeves, best known for his role as Superman in the 1950s television series Adventures of Superman, lived a life shadowed by mystery and tragedy. In 1959, at the age of 45, Reeves was found dead in his Los Angeles home from a gunshot wound. His death was officially ruled a suicide, but many have questioned this conclusion over the decades. Rumors and speculation suggest that Reeves' death may have been a murder disguised as suicide, potentially orchestrated by MGM executives or other powerful figures who wanted to protect their interests and reputation. Reeves had reportedly become frustrated with the typecasting and limitations imposed on his career by the Superman role and the studio system. Friends, family, and fans have long debated what really happened that night, with some believing Reeves was murdered due to personal disputes or studio politics. The lack of conclusive evidence and conflicting testimonies have kept the case unresolved, adding to the aura of mystery that surrounds his life and untimely death. Marlon Brando, one of the most influential actors of Hollywood's golden age, was celebrated for his groundbreaking performances and charismatic presence. However, behind the scenes, his personal life was complex and often controversial. Known for his numerous relationships with both women and men, Brando challenged the rigid norms of his era regarding sexuality and masculinity. Though he was married 3 times and fathered several children, Brando's romantic life was marked by secrecy and fluidity. Friends and biographers have documented his bisexuality, which at the time was rarely discussed openly in Hollywood. This aspect of his identity added layers of complexity to his public persona and personal relationships. Brando's openness about his struggles with fame, identity, and societal expectations made him a complicated figure, both admired and misunderstood. His legacy extends beyond his legendary acting. It also includes his role in challenging traditional Hollywood stereotypes about gender and sexuality. Brando's life story reveals how even the biggest stars grappled with personal truths behind the glitz and glamour. Charlie Chaplin, one of the most influential figures of the silent film era, had a personal life marked by controversy and scandal that often rivaled his cinematic fame. Known for his iconic character, the Tramp, Chaplin's off-screen relationships drew intense public scrutiny. He was married 4 times, with several of his marriages sparking outrage due to the significant age differences, most notably his marriage to Una O'Neill, who was 18 when they wed, while Chaplin was 54. His romantic life was complicated by numerous affairs, some with much younger women, which fueled tabloid gossip and legal battles. Chaplin also faced accusations and investigations related to paternity suits and alleged improper relationships, which threatened his career and reputation during the conservative social climate of the early to mid-20th century. Despite these scandals, Chaplin remained a towering figure in film history. His personal controversies highlight the often turbulent private lives behind Hollywood's glamorous facade and the challenges stars faced balancing public image with private desires. Rock Hudson, one of the most beloved leading men of Hollywood's golden age, lived a life divided between his public image and private truth. On screen, Hudson was the epitome of heterosexual masculinity, charming, rugged, and often cast in romantic roles opposite the era's most glamorous actresses. However, off-screen, he was a closeted gay man, forced to hide his identity in a deeply conservative and homophobic industry. In 1955, Hudson married his agent's secretary, Phyllis Gates, in what many later believed to be a studio-arranged marriage meant to silence rumors and preserve his career. The marriage ended in divorce after just 3 years, and Gates later admitted she suspected the union was a cover. Hudson lived discreetly for decades, maintaining his status as a matinee idol. In 1985, he shocked the world by announcing he had AIDS, making him the first major Hollywood star to publicly disclose the diagnosis. His death later that year brought unprecedented attention to the AIDS crisis and forced the entertainment industry to confront its long-standing culture of silence. Hudson's story remains a powerful reminder of the personal cost of living a life in hiding. Ava Gardner, one of Hollywood's most stunning and fiery stars, led a personal life as dramatic and passionate as the characters she portrayed. Known for her sultry beauty and magnetic screen presence, Gardner also became infamous for her stormy romantic relationships. She was married 3 times, to actor Mickey Rooney, bandleader Artie Shaw, and singer Frank Sinatra. Her marriage to Sinatra was the most intense and emotionally volatile. Their union was filled with passion, jealousy, and frequent public arguments, capturing the fascination of fans and tabloids alike. Despite the turmoil, Gardner later confessed that Sinatra was the great love of her life, and their bond remained strong even after their divorce. She was also known for her independence and refusal to conform to Hollywood's expectations of women, which sometimes made her a target of criticism. Later in life, Gardner reflected on her choices with a mix of pride and regret. Her candid memoir and personal letters revealed a woman who loved deeply, lived boldly, and suffered quietly. Ava Gardner's legacy is not just that of a screen siren, but of a woman who fiercely followed her heart, no matter the cost. Montgomery Clift, one of the most gifted actors of Hollywood's golden age, lived a life marked by brilliance, inner turmoil, and painful secrecy. Renowned for his intense performances in films like A Place in the Sun and From Here to Eternity, Clift was also one of the first actors to embrace a naturalistic, emotionally raw acting style that would influence generations to come. However, behind his professional success was a deeply private struggle with his identity. Clift was gay or bisexual at a time when being openly queer could destroy a career. He carefully concealed his relationships with men, often maintaining a carefully constructed public image. His sexuality was an open secret among those close to him. But it remained unspoken in public due to the rigid moral standards of mid-century Hollywood. A near-fatal car crash in 1956 left Clift physically disfigured and emotionally shattered, further complicating his life and career. He became increasingly dependent on drugs and alcohol, and his mental health deteriorated. His life story remains one of the most poignant in Hollywood history, a tale of exceptional talent overshadowed by personal pain and the suffocating constraints of his era.